Welcome. I'm pleased to see such a good turnout for our community meeting. For those who have not met me, can you hear me okay through this thing? Okay. For those who have not met me, I'm Brenda McCartney, Dr. McCartney, the superintendent of Garrett County Schools. So welcome to tonight's forum. I'm going to begin by reading the statement that was on the sign-up sheet so that we all know how we're going to proceed this evening. The meeting is for public comment on the rebanding of Northern Garrett High School and the relocation of Accident Elementary School to the Northern Middle School building only. No other topic should be discussed and considered. We are not making any decisions regarding the topic at this time. This meeting is a part of the information gathering process. Your comments from the public will be limited to 5 minutes. Should time prevent all individuals from speaking, written comments can be submitted to public.comment@garrettcountyschools.org. Possible responses from the superintendent or GCPS staff members will also be limited to 5 minutes. The meeting will be live streamed, so please know that, and a video recording will be available on our website after the meeting. Comments that are specific to individual employees are not permitted and should be referred to the immediate supervisor for appropriate consideration and review. Rude, slanderous, or threatening remarks or other disruptive behaviors that interfere with the meeting's order are not permitted. We read that at every board meeting, and I certainly don't expect that that will be the case tonight, that any of us would be rude or slanderous, but we do read that at every board meeting. I'd like to start by doing a very short presentation, and if it takes me more than 5 minutes, you can raise your hand and I'll stop. But I don't think I'll take more than 5 minutes. So to give you a little bit more specifics in case you have not heard the specifics of this proposal, this is the outline of the proposal on this slide. It is the outline of what I've put forth, basically moving 8th grade to Northern High School and relocating the accident school to this building, creating a pre-K to 7 school within this building, and looking also at bringing the STARS program and of course the ALO program, which are both regional programs, into this building. I started thinking about this as superintendent. I went back and read Dr. Lever's study, which was done in 2019. And one of the primary things, while they did not come to a conclusion like you should do this, you should do that specifically, one of the themes was that we needed to, or the public was very interested in maintaining our community schools, which is one of my goals as we're dealing with a declining enrollment and trying to figure out how to make that happen. I also considered very carefully that our elementary schools, we are now educating 3 and 4-year-olds. And the closer we can do that to their homes, the more likely we are to be able to bring those students into school. So that was a lot of the consideration. No. So this is the timeline that we've been working with. After thinking about this truly for pretty much a year, I established an advisory committee which has been meeting since October. That committee is chaired by Mrs. Donna Ashby and Mr. Edwards. The committee has about 15 members on it that we've pulled from this section of the county. And what I asked the committee to do was really look at the proposal, help me understand more thoroughly the advantages, the disadvantages, how we could address some of those disadvantages to make this a very good situation for our students. That committee has been meeting. This is our first community meeting regarding the proposal. When the committee finishes or has a draft report, there will be another community meeting. I think I have that on there in December. That date has not been finalized at this time, but there will be a presentation then. We will also hold a public hearing in January and then go through the process of my presenting to the board and looking for a movement forward by our March board meeting. I wanted to share that timeline with you, even though we don't have all the dates finalized, because I want you to know that we want to hear from you. Tonight is an opportunity for you to raise questions and make comments. We'll put our website address up at the very end so that if you want to comment in that way, you're more than welcome to. But we do want to hear so that we know how to approach any change that we might end up recommending. I have to talk faster if I'm going to stay to my 5 minutes. Opportunities. As we looked at this, and I really need to use the pronoun I as much as anything, but as I looked at this, immediately some opportunities came to mind, and I'm just going to take a moment and share some of those. The agricultural focus that Accident Elementary has right now, being able to bring that to this campus and offer that to all of our 6th and 7th grade students at the northern end of the county, I think is a real plus for our students. The availability of Hickory Environmental Center being right next door and being able to use that property and learn in that arena, I think is a big opportunity. The other thing that we're looking at this year, we wanted to open a Judy Center. At least we applied for a grant to open a Judy Center at Accident. Unfortunately, we really don't have enough space at Accident to do that. But we do have space in this facility to offer a Judy Center should we apply for that grant again. For those who don't know, a Judy Center is a center that works with children and parents before they ever come to school to get them on the right track for learning and growing. We would have science labs available to our elementary students. There is a potential, and I want to be careful on this one and say very clearly, it's a potential for a Title I program to be extended to support our 6th and 7th grade students. This is the first year that we've offered that program at Accident. That is all federal money, so I say potential because I don't control, none of us control how much of that money comes in, but we would expect to be able to expand that program. We would have more on-site support for our STARS students because we expect to have an assistant principal in this building. We have a school psychologist right here. We would have increased counselors and social workers available. Our ALO students could make use and profit from the little kitchenette that we have here so that they could deepen their life skills. And we would have an opportunity as we move the 8th grade to the high school to expand both curricular and co-curricular programs for those students. One of the questions that's come up a few times, so we just decided we would do this and we'll make this available to the advisory committee. This is a very drafty map. And I say drafty because none of us are architects, but we went through the building with some different staff people and put in place different things that we would need should we make this a pre-K to 7 school, just to be sure to assure people that yes, we have the space for programs and for the enhancement of those programs. This would move the state rated capacity for this building to close to 80%. It would be at about 79%. Those change, the ratings change based on elementary students versus older students because you need more space for elementary students. I'm also offering a slide tonight on what our savings or what the fiscal implications of doing this might be. When we look at yearly, what we're spending each year, operating cost at the accident facility, it's close to $450,000. That is for things like heating, and it's not only those costs, but it's operational cost, water, sewage, all of the cost assigned to that particular building. The biggest cost in all of that, you'll see that we have a staffing savings because we would be able to look at some of our staffing and make some changes in that regard. That is mainly support staff, and I know that makes everyone uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable when I look at it, but I also know we did this at Southern Middle as we were closing Southern Middle and moving students into Broadford and Southern High School, and there are some basic staff savings that come about from this move. The other thing I put on here is our capital improvement plan and how many dollars are attached to different things in our capital improvement plan. As we look at Accident School, it's like any other school, including this school. It's going to need a new roof at some point. Accident needs one within the next couple years. When we look at that and the paving that we feel we need to do at Accident, that's about an $816,000 item out of local monies. And then you can see on this slide the amount of money should we move into this building. We would definitely need to do some work. We would have an architect do some of the design, and between the renovations for Northern Middle and Northern High and local money, it would be about $500,000. We have those monies in our CIP right now. CIP is our capital improvement plan where we project out money for state and local support for capital work. And we have included both accident continuing or accident being accident school in this building until we make a final decision on what we should do. So that's the background from my point of view for what we are trying to do here at this complex. So I need the sheet of speakers. And we have the clock, which I won't be able to see. But people will help me with that. Thank you. Jess Brown. I'm also going to say while Jess is getting ready, you need to push the button on the mic and that'll give you mic strength. The other thing, just so the people in the audience know, those who work with me every day know this, I wear hearing aids. Sometimes I don't hear quite as well in a larger environment as I would like. So if you see me looking at you intently, I'm reading your lips. I don't mean to be rude. I'm just trying to keep up. So, Jess?
I do want to thank everybody for coming. This is a great turnout, I think, from our community, so thank you all. On that, I also want to say I am a little bit disappointed that Meet the Squad night is happening currently right now at the high school, because I think that inhibited a lot of our family members from being able to be present, as they have, children in both the high school playing sports as well as in our elementary schools. So getting started, my biggest concern is, as we're calling this a relocation, I think words do matter, and this is really a closure of two schools, not necessarily just a relocation, because Accident Elementary School will no longer be a pre-K 3 through 5th grade school. The culture is going to be disrupted when we add all areas 6th and 7th grade students to our current school. And as PTO president of Accident, I can vouch for the amazing parent community that we have at Accident Elementary. Every year we come together and to fundraise and provide numerous opportunities for our students that is outside of CPS's budget. We have donated money, time, blood, sweat, and tears into our schoolyard and other numerous projects at Accident. How do we continue to ask our families, community members, and local businesses for assistance for what they've all donated in the past just gets put to the wayside? So by adding all areas 6th and 7th graders into our network, it's going to be very difficult for the PTO to maintain all of our current traditions as they stand. And then secondly, Northern Middle School will no longer exist. Yes, the building will stand. However, we will no longer have a middle school on the northern end. So as I'm sure you will hear many times tonight, why this proposal? And as we've met numerous times, you've talked about enhanced learning opportunities. I do appreciate you showing the slide today, but also as being on the advisory committee, it's been more difficult for us, I believe, to come up with opportunities than conflicts or disruptions or potential concerns. So I personally would like to see a little bit more meat to the proposal. So thank you for sharing the floor plan and seeing some little bit establishment there, some more opportunities. But I think now is the time to be figuring out all the meat of bones to this proposal before we put it to the board for a vote. This weekend, as a duty of trying to solicit and get back as much feedback from our community as possible, I created a survey and just open-ended asked family members, community members, businesses of all northern area to provide some feedback to the current proposal shared. We did receive, as of 4 o'clock today, 147 responses. Out of those responses, 78 individuals shared direct feedback, and many had requested that their comments be read during the meeting. So this evening you will have a couple readers reading those comments, because I know some, whether they're not able to be here personally tonight, whether they're staff members or they're just not great at public speaking and have some butterflies, we want to make sure that their voices are heard. So I do have 3 comments that I would like to share, and if I don't get through them, I have a backup reader to come up later. So, my first comment from the survey. Here we go. As a parent, I have many questions and concerns. What will the cost for renovation be? How will this move impact class size? Will there be 2 classes at most grade levels, or is the intent to reduce 1 per grade as much as possible, which would increase our class sizes to 30 plus students? How many staff members from Accident and Northern Middle School will be relocated to other buildings? Who will the administrators be? What academic benefits are anticipated for our students beyond what they already have access to? I realize there is a limited budget for renovations, but will our children still have a playground comparable to the one that they now have, as well as areas to run and play and learn outside? What will the costs be to move our barn and high tunnel? Is there funding to do this? I do not see any benefits for our children, and I have many concerns. Please consider other options and help the community understand why this plan is being proposed. Community schools are so important. Removing Accident Elementary School from their community and combining it with 6th and 7th graders from other schools will have a significant negative impact on our school community. Taking the middle school experience away from our 6th and 7th graders is unfair and will not benefit our students. I strongly urge our elected board members to require much more information in a detailed plan, including the cost to give our students the same opportunities they currently have. If it is not possible, please vote against this proposal. And then I will have my reader read the other ones. But thank you.
You don't have to leave, Jess. We could have a conversation
Okay.
because you might be able to help me. So, I was trying to keep up.
Yeah.
I'm sure I didn't get everything down, but I would like to take up to 5 minutes to respond to some of what you said. The barn is definitely, we will have a place for the barn on this property. The playground, we will definitely have a playground appropriate for our students. I can't answer you tonight as to moving the playground because there are safety guidelines. Sometimes I'll look at a playground and think we can move it, and someone will remind me that no, we can't. We need to replace it because of the age of the equipment. So I can't answer that for you tonight, but I'll try to do that soon. When we looked at the building, at this building, right now, Accident Elementary does not have 2 grades, 2 classes per every grade level. But when we looked at this building, we looked at enough space so that we could have 2 classrooms per grade level. That changes based on the number of students that we're serving. I believe this year that we actually added a teacher at the very primary level because we had enough students, so we wanted to be able to serve those students. We do that across the county. So it's sort of an ebb and flow on teachers. We have staffing guidelines that are now in our budget book, which is online, and we use those as guidelines to help us determine at the school level how many staff members we should have at each grade level. The PTA, I don't know how to answer that beyond saying that I admire the work of the PTA. I admire what you do for the community. And maybe you're a PTO and not a PTA. PTO.
Okay.
And what you do for the community, and I admire that across the county for what we do as a community. Traditions are hard to change. But they can. New traditions can be built. I have faith in you as a school leader, in many of the people I see in this room that are school leaders. And I need to be quiet. He forgot to start.
You're good.
I'll sum it up very quickly then. I have a lot of faith in the community. Um, you're here tonight because you support your children. If the school is moved to this building, I expect you'll be here to support your children because that's what we do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do better. Help me out here. Cindy Vos. Hi, Cindy. Did I say your last name correctly?
Yes, you did. And
Okay.
she's my backup reader because I think I'm over by a minute. I'm not sure. She's my backup. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to voice our concerns about these proposed changes. My name's Cindy Vos, and I've been proud to raise 4 kids here in Garrett County, with 2 of them still attending Accident Elementary. For years now, we've attended community events at the school, put our kids through its wonderful after-school activities, volunteered our time there. Accident Elementary was part of what attracted us to live in Accident. It's a great facility, built for the appropriate ages and staffed with dedicated teachers who have given our kids a great start to their lives. And now, here we are once again discussing closure and consolidation, all to solve administrative problems, not educational ones. Administration found itself in a hole, hired an expensive consultant that doesn't have to deal with the consequences of its advice, and received a plan from them, and is now bound and determined to follow it because of sunk costs. To be honest, this entire hearing feels like a hoop you jump through so as to give cover for a preordained decision. This plan might solve administrators' current problems, and the jury's out on that, by creating long-term ones, undermining schools, students, and communities. It helps administration comply with a state plan we all know will have to be reworked anyway, at the expense of the well-being of our children and community. Accident's a great school, a 4-star school in the eyes of the state, and much higher in the eyes of its students, and staffed by genuinely dedicated teachers. Studies have shown that small schools are safer, have higher teacher retention rates, have higher parent involvement, greater academic success, and produce more active citizens. You're concerned about student population declines. Calvary Christian, another well-respected small community school, is growing, with over 100 current students. Some parents will choose to send their students there, rather than keep their children at school, whose future appears uncertain. Others will simply withdraw and homeschool their kids. Either way, the money attached to these students is lost to you, as you pay to bring NMS into compliance and mothball a perfectly good facility. Here, kiddo, I'm gonna start coughing.
And make no mistake, we all know that Blueprint will have to be rolled back. Full compliance with Blueprint is fiscally impossible, not only here, but in wealthy counties as well as the state level. They're facing a $2.7 billion budget shortfall, largely because of Blueprint. Even Governor Moore has indicated that. Changes are on the table, which could quickly make any decision made now look even worse later. And ironically, Blueprint supports community schools like Accident. Closing it would undermine its very purpose. If anything, we need more small schools that are grounded in their communities, not fewer of them. To ensure quality elementary education to Garrett County students in their formative years and to stimulate growth in community vibrancy as well as to retain the families we have, small footprint, low-cost facilities, yes, with Swan Meadows as a model, are the path forward for Garrett County. Not monoliths that require students to take the bus half the day. Closing schools damages communities and undermines your educational mission and the entire purpose of Blueprint and saves nothing. Ask yourself, what if we're wrong about this? You're not on railroad tracks. You can choose a different path. I can read this well because of Miss Savage, Miss Faith, Miss Cosgrove, Miss Smith, and Miss Rickle, and Miss Debbie. Please don't close my school.
First of all, you did an excellent job. I can tell you have very, very good teachers. Thank you. Thank you for reading that. I would like to take a moment, if I may, to respond to a couple points that I heard. One is the blueprint, which has done many good things for us. When I look at the blueprint and I think about our expansion of programs for our 3-year-olds, when I think about our college career readiness programs at the high school, when I look at well-deserved increased salaries for many of our, not just many, because of the blueprint, we raised all the salaries. Those are all great things in the blueprint that will help us do better. I do believe that there may be some changes coming to the blueprint, but I don't think they'll be that major. That's just my point of view. And you're right, Accident is a great school. I am honored to be a superintendent in a county with great schools. And I believe that one of the hallmarks of a great school and a great school system is to be able to adapt to changing waters, changing winds, whatever. There's a saying, maybe it's winds. But we need to be able to adapt. The truth is, we do have a declining student population. The truth is that that does impact our budget and what we can do for our students. What this will help us be able to do and still have, at least in my mind, and I know for many of you it's much more emotional than what I'm saying. In my mind, this will allow us to continue to have an accident school in this community. Is it different? Yes, Jess. Make no doubt about it. It is different. And I firmly believe that that difference, we're all smart enough, the staff is good enough to make that difference work for our benefit, for our students. So thank you very much. Teresa Signs. Hello, Teresa.
Hello. Okay. All right. Middle schools were created in the 60s to provide children of preteen and teenage years to have a transition period for developmental, intellectual, cognitive, physical, and social change, separating the groups between the smaller children, the intermediate children, and the near adult children. Eliminating middle school takes away a critical transition period from our children already juggling so many changes. I hear you say this evening that you can't find Judy Center space for one class in our elementary school, but you want to eliminate our 8th grade and place in that space an entire elementary school, 2 STARS programs, an ALO, and a Judy Center. I hear you also saying that we have staff savings, but what that truly is job loss for our community. I have other concerns about class size. My children have lots of one-on-one time in the classes they're already in, bringing home honor roll every report card. I know that this is because anytime they're struggling with math or reading or any subject, they're given the one-on-one time they have, and it boosts their confidence and their grade scores. I ask you to reconsider. Accident Elementary is not just a school for us, it's part of our community. Thank you.
You don't have to leave that quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. And I forgot to take notes because I was listening to you so intently. Class size, you mentioned class size. Our expectation, and someone from the staff can correct me if I'm wrong, my budget book's over there, but basically, we expect an average within a school building about one teacher to 25 students at each of our grade levels. That wouldn't change. That will still be an expectation. And I think some of our classes at Accident have more students and some have less, so it's an average within the building. And when we do a pre-K4 program, it's 20 students in that particular classroom. Those kind of guidelines would still be in place. So if we have right now 2 second grade teachers at Accident, we would expect to bring 2 second grade teachers to this building unless we have a decline in population. But we'll do that whether Accident is in this building or Accident is in its current building. We have to adjust our staffing to the number of students that we're serving. So that's part of what we will continue to look at. I started my career in Garrett County as a middle school teacher. I love middle schools. But what I have come to understand is what I really like about middle schools is the kind of support that we can have in place for our students. As we look not just at the blueprint, it's not just the blueprint that is taking our 8th graders into a high school, it is student interest, student need, students wanting to finish high school with college hours under their belt, so to speak. So that just has become a general way of operating with our 8th grade students. When we look at our 6th and 7th grade students and we look at the different programs that we have for 6th and 7th grade, we would continue all of those programs, just as we are at the southern end of the county with our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, even though they're not all in the same building. So those programs would continue. One of the most important things at that middle school age is the amount of emotional and social support that students get and the social opportunities. I would expect all of us to continue to work to deliver those. So thank you very much. Amanda Wakefield. Hi, Amanda.
I just want to start by saying I'm speaking as a parent of students at both these schools, Northern Middle and Accident. I know many people who work for GCPS as employees, and I've been through all this the last time I came to all the meetings for the grade band alignment. So these are just some problems that I just want to be very direct and say I have issues with this. During the grade band alignment issue from the past couple of years, teachers and GCPS staff were told that they were not allowed to speak at these meetings under threat of disciplinary action or termination. Now GCPS staff are once again being influenced by leadership to not speak at these meetings. And I've heard ones that if they wanted to decide to speak, their statements must first be reviewed by their supervisors or management. And now we have to remember, these are the same people who are going to be tasked with implementing this plan, working in these school facilities with our students under these conditions, and have experienced this exact scenario in the past because they worked through the years that Grantsville Elementary was moved here into the middle school. They know exactly what this is going to be like. And my problem is, if this plan is going to be so great, why wouldn't we want these people's unaltered, honest, and unfiltered opinions? If they're being influenced not to speak, that speaks volumes. The next problem that I have is about electives here at the middle school. As I understand it, Southern already has many more electives for its students than Northern does. The reasons for this I've heard are limited classroom space, limited staff, and limited resources that make it possible to offer Northern students the same options and opportunities that are given to Southern. I heard that, in fact, a few years ago, that thousands of taxpayer dollars were used to construct new home ec kitchens here at Northern Middle, but the home ec program was then cut almost immediately, and no one was allowed to use the equipment. Now, at the same time that Northern Middle's home ec program was eliminated, Southern not only got to keep home ec, but also gained culinary arts. So Southern kids can be put on a career path to be taught how to become a chef, while Northern students aren't allowed to be taught how to boil water on the stoves that their parents' tax dollars paid for. Now, if one of the main reasons for this discrepancy in electives is that we don't have the space for all of these classes, wouldn't cramming another school full of children in here make that problem worse? And I know we're also being told that some of the reasons we have to close Accident Elementary is that it needs a new roof and we need to repave the parking, and that's just too expensive. But I don't see how remodeling all of Northern Middle School, probably renting trailers to have our children have school in while that renovations are going on, reconstructing the whole road system here to alleviate the already chaotic traffic situation at the Northern Complex, I don't see how that's going to be cheaper and more cost effective. And also, I am the parent of a student that went to Accident Elementary, where the classes were combined from 3rd through 5th grade. So her classes a lot of times had 30 students or more in it. This ended up being a nightmare for teachers, students, and parents. I don't think there's any way this is a good idea, so I'm really hoping that that's not how this is going to turn out up here. So,
I'll try to respond.
okay.
And I did make some notes
Okay.
this time. First of all,
Yes.
you want me to speak faster? I'll do my best. Thank you. But I do feel I need to respond. One of the assertions is that staff was told that they could not speak at a public meeting. I did not say that to any staff. I would expect them to feel professionally enabled to state their point of view. They can do it at a public meeting, or they can send me an email, or they can talk to me when I'm in the school. That has not been told to anyone. And if anyone has heard that, just let me know and we'll address it. The other thing that I'll just put out, you mentioned the home ec program. We are hoping next year to begin a culinary arts program at Northern High School. Looking at our budget and taking care of our finances allows us an opportunity to look at such movements forward with our students. No trailers. Just no trailers. There is no projection that we would have trailers on this site as we were doing the remodeling for this building. We would have our students at Accident and then move them into the building when it was finished. Okay, thank you. Hi, Mandy.
Okay. I am here tonight to speak as a GCPS teacher as well as the parent of a kindergartner at Accident Elementary, but I am also here to speak as a concerned citizen. This relocation would affect my family in a number of ways. I grew up in Garrett County and attended Accident Elementary School beginning at 4 years old as a pre-K student. I now teach pre-K at the very same school, and my son attends kindergarten right across the hall from my classroom. As you can imagine, these things give me all the warm fuzzies and all that. While those things are immeasurably special to me, I am here to speak on other sides of this. Our school's relocation can be called such because the move happens within the accident district. However, this is a closure by nearly all other definitions. On paper and for financial reasons, it is being called a relocation. However, as outlined in your proposal, moving our school to another campus also involves bringing together all 6th and 7th graders in the northern end of the county under the same roof and sending 8th graders to the high school. This changes the model completely. Therefore, we're not just relocating one school. Imagine having your 5th grade graduation from Route 40 Elementary School and moving on to Accident Elementary School, or completing 5th grade at Accident and having a graduation and then moving just a few doors down. The current proposal leaves many of these types of questions unanswered. I also think it's important to note how carrying out this proposal could change our entire community. I have heard it said that when a community school closes, a community closes. We have seen this happen with the school closures of Bloomington and Kitzmiller. To put it simply, those towns are drastically different than they were before. Beyond that, I am not alone in my view that Accident Elementary is truly a special place. Our continuing efforts in our expansive schoolyard make our campus undeniably superior to anything that the northern campus would be able to offer. Our playground has just recently been updated, and it has been said that we'll be able to take everything at our school with us to a new location. And while you may be able to uproot playground equipment, the land that it sits on will not compare. A playground squeezed in the back corner of this school will be a huge downgrade. Our barn and high tunnel smashed against the current tennis courts is not an adequate comparison to what our students have access to now. You won't be able to convince our Accident Elementary School families that the grounds will expand any opportunities for our youngest learners. Thinking into the future, in the event that this move does take place, our beautiful Accident Elementary School and the grounds will be returned to the county, and the commissioners will then decide what happens to it. I'd be very surprised if Calvary doesn't make an offer on that space to expand their programs, and if Calvary should open in our current building, GCPS student enrollment would inevitably go down even more due to the more central location of a private schooling option. These are a few of the important things that I want our members of our Board of Education to hear about as they make this enormous decision regarding what is essentially a closure of yet another successful community school. And I also have a parent, a pre-K parent, that wanted me to share some of her thoughts, her perspective, just 2 small items that I think may be spoken about a bit less tonight. Accident is a 4-star school. Why would we consider eliminating a school that's already so successful, where the staff, community, and students are thriving, to completely rework it? It doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Arguably most important to her, middle school years are some of the most formative years for kids. Studies have shown that anxiety and stress levels are increased in middle school students when placed around high school age students due to social anxieties and pressure. For a county that values mental health, for a county that values mental health, this seems counterproductive.
Thank you. And I'm not going to take a lot of time to respond. Beyond just saying that, again, I firmly believe that we will be able to meet the needs of our middle school students in a different environment. So I think the other topics you brought up, we talked about a little bit. And at the end of the meeting, because we are looking at a time frame of 7:30, I'll stay around, and anyone who wants to chat with me and get a distinct answer, I'll be here to do that. So thank you, Mandy.
Thanks.
Ryan Savage.
So most of you know me. If you don't, I'm Ryan Savage, and I first I'm speaking today as a citizen, a father, and a husband, and a community member, not on behalf of the Board of Commissioners or any other 10 to 12 boards I'm on. I'm here to speak out against the closure of Axon Elementary, and I do understand it's being presented as moving Axon Elementary rather than a closure, but in my opinion, once it leaves the municipality, is an undue hardship for the community. Believe me, I understand what the attempt is, but we in Garrett County have a poster child for the closure of schools and municipalities, and highly recommend against following that path. One more thing I would like to mention before I get in my long winding road of financial perspective is that the building that currently houses Axon Elementary, if closed, would return to the Board of County Commissioner control. Regardless who sits on that board, they would have an obligation to the taxpayer to be stewards of their money. What will become of that building? In my opinion, it would likely be sold and quite possibly to a private school. Now, while that may be somewhat beneficial to the town of Accident, one would wonder, one has to wonder the number of students that the more functional school and location would additionally take away from public school enrollment. You don't have to be rich to attend a private school. You just need enough reason to choose that over public education. I guess that's the first point of financial downfall. And now for the winding road. It is a fact that Garrett County economy is growing. Jobs and businesses are moving in. It is a fact that Garrett County has attainable housing initiatives that are coming to fruition. It is my opinion that both of these combined will push a realigned middle school to need further room to house the students, while it may take 5 or even 10 years to do so. As of right now, our state and local share funding, when approved by the IAC, is 8911. This number was set when the state had a $2 million surplus just 2 years ago. This year, with a $2 billion deficit and a projected $5 billion deficit in fiscal year 26, with this deficit, even if the formula dictates that the percentage stays the same, it's a decently safe bet that funding will be pulled and the number of projects approved will go down. Not to mention our IAC funding qualification falls solely on Allegheny County. As of fiscal year 22, they were roughly $7,000 below the median household income to qualify. So below, in the formula, roughly $7,000 median household income to qualify, and none of us know what will follow. If they should happen to move out of the bottom quarter of the median household income, we return to a 50-50 split on local and state funds for what, in my opinion, is an inevitable expansion should the realignment occur. At this moment, we have an 89-11 split with the roof replacement, which as far as I can tell should be approved by the IAC, leaving local share for one-time money of $216,000 and other repairs totaling $600,000. All other criteria rated good or very good on May 30th, 2024. A relatively low cost of $816,000 comparatively to totally revamp the wonderful school that Accident currently is. Seems like a small price to pay to risk an irreversible change to the town of Accident, the school employees, and most importantly, the students. While this may be somewhat of a hypothetical scenario, it is my honest opinion of the road that lies ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Savage. I really don't know that you had a particular question that I need to respond to tonight, but I appreciate the input. And if I could also say, many of you have papers that you're reading from. I'm much better at understanding things when I read them. So if you put your name on them and leave them for me, I'd really appreciate it. I should have asked that earlier. Thank you.
I'm much better at handing the paper over than saying it.
And I am doing some of that because I'm trying to move on because I don't need to take my full 5 minutes. Chelsea Warnick, please.
I'm reading on behalf of several community members from Jess's survey.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I have 3 responses. How do you plan to provide access to the same outdoor activities currently available at Accident Elementary? Large new playground, barn, large grassy area for playing sports, etc. What construction needs to be done to get the high school ready for 8th grade students? What construction needs to be done to get the middle school ready for pre-K 3 through 5th grade students? What are the costs and how do they compare with keeping Accident Elementary open? Are there any additional educational opportunities that Accident Elementary students will have access to as a result of being at the middle school? Have there been any attempts from Garrett County Public Schools and/or the Board of Education to gather feedback from parents on the southern end of the county regarding their grade band realignment? It seems southern end parents were not involved and were blindsided by the grade band realignment. The community on the northern end has already successfully opposed a grade band realignment proposal. We should be gathering data from the southern end of our own county to make informed decisions about what is best for our students. One of my concerns is the quality of specials education and the burden on those teachers, including media staff and counselors. For example, will one teacher at the middle school be responsible for delivering all art content or music or PE from pre-K to 7th grade? Will all other classroom teachers migrate from the current elementary to the middle school location? I worry about the loss of quality in the classroom if there is a decrease in number of the staff. I would like to hear from representatives, both parents and staff from the southern end and the academy at Broadford, who can speak to this experience and how it's going there. This is the final comment. My first thoughts when I heard these proposals are being reintroduced were, here we go again. I am referring to the closure of Accident Elementary School and the reband proposal. I will begin by saying that I am vehemently opposed to any and all of these proposals. Near and dear to my heart is the proposal to close Accident Elementary School. All of our children attended Accident Elementary. We currently have grandchildren in attendance. There are several more grandchildren that would hopefully one day attend school here. I am quite surprised and very much disheartened that Accident Elementary School is being targeted for closure. Accident Elementary is such a beautiful, well-maintained facility with many unique features. At a glance, we can tell that the school has been lovingly taken care of, from the appearance of the school itself to the new playground with many well-thought-out features, to the unique barn with the beautiful artwork, some of which was done by our students, to the animals with hopes of more being added. And I understand there are plans for a future garden next year. These are but a few of Accident Elementary School's assets. Most importantly is the dedication of each and every one of the school staff toward our students, past, present, and future. From our principal, our teachers, teachers' aides, office staff, school nurse, cafeteria workers, custodial workers, law enforcement officers, parents, and other volunteers, and so many more that I may have inadvertently missed. I realize that I am but one voice, but I can assure you that there are many, many others from our community that agree with me 100%. I am sure I have missed some key issues, but it is our hope that you and the Board of Education will realize that this reconfiguration, as proposed, is not in the best interest of our school, our students, our principal, our teachers, and our community. God be with each and every one of us as we make these important decisions concerning our most cherished and prized possessions, the students and future students of Accident Elementary School. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me respond to just a couple. We have, from the southern end of the county, Mr. Edwards has had student groups discuss some of the changes at the southern end of the county, as well as our student board member has met with groups of students to see how they're acclimating to a different grade band. And our input from those students has been very positive. It was not an easy thing to pull off, neither will this be. But again, I expect that if we do make this change, that we'll all work together and make it work for us. I cannot disagree with you or anyone else in this room about the excellence at Accident School. I would also say there is excellence in this building for 6th through 8th grade. When it comes to the changes that we want to make at Northern High School, we have space available in that building to move our 8th grade students into the building. When I showed earlier the capital improvement plan and the money, no matter what, because I want to be very transparent with people, no matter what our decision is, I would continue to plan to do some upgrades to Northern High School's interior. So those are things that we would want to do no matter what we do. There would need to be some modifications to this building, and that was shown as far as the dollar amount on the capital improvement plan.
I will also just say that although there is no plan for trailers, there are still 6th graders in trailers at Broadford. So I do have concerns about that, for there not being a plan for it, but it still being something that could come into play.
Well, the 6th graders at Broadford are in trailers this year. We had to put some trailers on the property because we're rebuilding the old Southern Middle School into a new Broadford school. So that was planned for a short-term solution while we were doing the building. You're welcome. Thank you.
Now we're good. Okay. Okay. I'm Jess's backup reader, so I'm also sharing feedback from her survey. What is the cost comparison between the upkeep and maintenance for Accident Elementary and the renovations needed to create a pre-K 3 through 7th grade school? Is there a pre-K through 7th model in which the Board of Ed will be referencing? Can the current timeline be modified? There seems to be a rush in making this occur. Is it possible to extend the timeline to ensure seamless and successful transition? If the entrance and exit to the campus can be modified, what will this involve and how long would it take? Modifications to the outdoor learning space would need to be considered. Who will be responsible for this? Accident staff and families have invested hundreds of hours in creating the outdoor learning environment. Is the expectation that our school community would do this work again, or will GCPS ensure everything is transferred in the current state or improved upon? Staff, students, and parents have built a walking trail, barn with pasture, orchard, arboretum, etc., hours of work and dedication. If a relocation occurs, it would be my expectation that Accident Elementary would obtain additional opportunities or programs and would not lose anything except for its current address. Will moving Accident stabilize the northern schools for the next 7 to 10 years? What kind of facility expansion, playground, road access to 219, gym expansion, etc., will be needed to accommodate the move? Will there be funding for facility expansion and remodeling? Will all staff and teachers keep their jobs with this move? If this move can stabilize the budget without cutting education opportunities for kids, then this could gain support from the community.
I'm going to try to answer a couple of these pretty quickly. Okay, sure, because you might want to probe me a little bit, but I don't want to take too much time. One of the questions, and I've been asked this from different people, do I know of another place that has a pre-K to 7 school? And my frank and honest answer is no. But I also know that we do things differently in Garrett County in order to solve some of our problems. No other school system in the state that I know of has teaching principals. But in order to maintain some of our small schools, we have teaching principals. So it's sort of a local decision as to how to organize a school. It makes sense to me that we have so many 8th graders going to the high school that just letting them be in the building could be beneficial to them. Some of the other points that you raised, I think we've talked about. As far as moving the playground equipment and providing an outdoor environment here. We would certainly plan to do that, but I'm not going to say tonight that we'll move every piece of playground equipment because that takes people who know more about playground equipment than I do to be able to answer that. Do I believe? I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I did. I don't have one. But I do believe that if we make this change, that it will, for the near future, foreseeable future, allow us to put some of this conversation behind us. In the CIP, we do want to renovate Friendsville School within the next few years. We also have on the CIP to do the same, to do some changes at Crellin School, all in an effort to keep our community schools open at the elementary level. And I know for accident, this is a change, but we still have a school in our community. So, thank you. That was Bethany. So, Jesse Fike. Hi, Jesse.
Good. Okay. I'm also reading comments from the survey, many reoccurring themes, but making sure everyone's voice is heard. Okay. Will everyone who has their own classroom at Accident also have their own classroom at the middle school? What will this look like for the resource teachers, art, music, and PE, considering those spaces in the middle school are already occupied by the middle school resource teachers? Where will the elementary resources go? Is the possibility of being on a cart in play for anyone? The word opportunity keeps being thrown around without a clear description. My kids had plenty of opportunity in the current setup. What new things would be offered that they aren't already available? How is it fair that these so-called new opportunities are hinged upon only Accidents students being relocated and not the other schools? With Accident being the highest scoring and performing school on this end for decades, doesn't that verify that the opportunities given to those students in that current environment are working? That school setting and culture should be a model for the other area schools to follow. What model in the business world would ever change what is working for decades and leave alone what is not? Our business is people. This model has worked for these people. Time is needed to prove the new model is a step forward and not backwards for our students. If this is truly what is best for our students, then time will prove that with the Southern End model, and then maybe this word opportunity makes more sense. With the amount of tax dollars and funding this county receives, why is there not an alternative effort to keeping schools open and promoting the education school system in Garrett County in a way that attracts more families instead of chasing them away? Northern does not have to look like Southern. I know many in the Southern District who are not happy with the new alignment. Can you show the savings and benefits from a parental perspective for what has occurred in the Southern End? We moved to Garrett County in the summer of 2023. We have 4 children, 2 of which are already enrolled and 2 who will be within the next 2 years. When deciding where we wanted our family to land, this elementary school was the driving factor that made us choose Garrett County and Accident as our new home. We deliberately purchased a home right down the road from Accident Elementary for this reason. We moved here so our 4 children would have the opportunity to bloom at this wonderful school, and now 2 years in, and it is being taken away from us. Our children love their school, playground, farmyard, and the community that they have become a part of. And I have 2 minutes, so I wanted to ask 2 questions of my own. So one thing that has kind of been circulating in my mind since the proposal has been shared was why Accident? Why not Friendsville? Why not Route 40? Why Grantsville? If that question could be answered, I'm really curious about it, especially since I saw there was a backlog of maintenance numbers shared from GCPS where Friendsville needs $14 million in renovations and Accident only needs $6 million. So if there's a price tag on keeping Accident open, what is it? And why not choose a school like Friendsville that has such a high number in renovations? Next question. Would there be a snowball effect? Accident relocates to the middle school, 8th grade goes to high school. Would eventually this school building become the home for Friendsville, for Route 40, for Grantsville? I love hearing that our small classroom sizes could stay the same if Accident Elementary comes to the middle building. But I wonder if in a few years, if other elementary schools start moving into this building, if that small classroom size, just that's a minor detail, if that could still actually be a factor if more schools moved in. There we go, 46 seconds left.
A couple people have asked me, why Accident? And it really does go back to trying to keep in our municipalities and in our communities our small elementary schools. That's part of the objective here. In my mind, if you moved another elementary school into this building, then Accident would have 2 elementary schools and another community might not have a school. My objective is to avoid that. So that's why Accident. It's like 2 to 3 miles up the road. And I know that's easier said than accomplished. One of the things I mentioned to Jess early on when we were talking about and talked to other people at Accident about is really understanding what is the heart of Accident School and being sure that the heart of Accident School is relocated to this building, because the heart of Accident School is not a building. It is the culture that everyone has worked together to create. And it's a culture that I find in many of our schools in Garrett County, one where we work together and support our students. That's what I think makes Accident. And then we layer on the agricultural program, the excellent leadership that we have at the school. So there are lots of things that can layer into making sure that that comes here. But thank you for your input. Appreciate it.
Got it. Oh, there we go. Just leave it on. Okay. I'll just move it so you can't hear me breathing or anything afterwards. Thank you for having this meeting and also for taking the time to answer as many questions as you can. I know you didn't have these pre-planned, so greatly appreciate that. So one of the questions that I have, and I'm kind of a little bit of a science nerd, so
is about like evidence-based practices for education and what type of research or models. I know you said you don't know of another school system like this, but what kind of research have you done that is going to show that this is a great model for our students? Because I know I don't want my students to be an experiment. So I was curious about that. You kind of mentioned why accident, but I was also curious if there were any specific metrics or measurements that you're using to kind of help guide your decision making. Like if there's, are you looking at test scores, or how are we making sure that these types of things that are happening on the southern end can be replicated on the northern end in a healthy manner for our students? Previously, you weren't our superintendent the last time we did this, but the emergency preparedness at the northern and only having one road in and out of the school has been mentioned a few hundred times, I think. And it doesn't really seem like it becomes a topic of concern again until there's another closure or merger or relocation or something like that. So I'm just curious, even irregardless of whether this happens, if that could be placed on a high priority list for a solution. And then also, we had previously talked about the special resource classes and how that would kind of translate from having one art classroom right now to having two and needing one focused on elementary versus middle school, and if the classroom on a cart option is something that might happen. I was a math on a cart kid, so I know how that works. But then I do have a couple other questions, and these are from the survey. And some of these have already been addressed, so I'll kind of skip over a couple of these. But one question that is a concern is with the creation of what they're calling mega schools. So kind of creating these large elementary, middle school types, like this would be, like Broadford kind of is now. But they're saying our smallest schools are often the best performing and have the overall higher morale, as well as just having great relationships between the teachers, students, and parents, and how it seems like some of these things are lost once you move to a larger school. So just kind of keeping that in mind, as well as the high consideration for the wide range of behavior issues that can happen between pre-K 3 and 7th graders, and how we may potentially protect our youngest and our most vulnerable from kind of exposing them to unnecessary things. They were curious why there was only one proposal, rather than potentially giving the community input on a wide variety of ideas. And they were curious why Accident is the only school that is getting moved when it is one of our newer elementary schools in the county. And we're concerned about the rushing of the plans. And then just the road access, and I already talked about that on my own list, so I think that's it.
I'll try to answer a couple. Thank you.
I skipped over a couple.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The, as far as research for the model, I did look at some research, and what I'm going to say won't be the most popular thing, but what the research really says is the model doesn't matter. What matters is what you do in the classroom and what you do in the school for the students. So that there are some schools that operate as K-12 schools and are very successful. There are some schools that operate as K-12 and aren't successful. But it's what happens in the school with the staff and the students, and the amount of community support for the school. Those are the things that really make a difference for the school. Emergency preparedness has come up a couple times. I do not have a good answer for that tonight. Certainly, should we move this proposal forward, it is part of my desire to have our architect and engineer look at that. We do know that when we had Grantsville here on the property, that it worked quite well. Yes, I know. It got backed up at the end of the day because everyone was trying to go left to Grantsville. We've looked at that. We'll be going right more often than we are left. So we would expect that to help. But it's not off the table to continue to look at that. So that's the best I can do on that point tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tara. Hi.
We're both going to try to make sense of my scroll here on my notebook. I do have a survey response, but like Stephanie, I feel like a lot of it has already been covered, so I may just hand that to you.
Okay.
Without another model to look at, I share the concerns that have been mentioned. There are so many things we can trailblaze, right? And we've done that in Garrett County successfully in the past. My concern is the uprooting of trailblazing this in this small community. Bullet points, bear with me. You mentioned the student group feedback from the southern end. I wonder if some of those specifics are available for us to review and maybe look at what the students are saying. If those, if any of that feedback was recorded from the students, I'd be really interested in it. This probably should have been my first bullet point, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity to meet as a community, and I'm very grateful for the community and showing up. I look forward to this collaboration continuing. That was one of my questions, and I saw that answered in your earlier presentation. And encourage the community to continue to show up for the students. There is a Board of Education meeting on the 10th of December at Dennett Road, and 2 December County Commissioner meetings. And I think that the more often that we get involved, the more positive our conversations can be. So not necessarily directed at you, but to all these fine folks behind me. Keep showing up, keep asking questions, stay pesky, if you will. I think it's crucial, and we've heard this tonight, that we have to look at other opportunities before we can say this is the right choice. Is there an opportunity to relocate some staff from Dennett Road, and what would that loss of expense look like from a utility perspective? I don't know, again, budget-wise, what Dennett Road is costing. I know we did some of that leading into this school year, and hopefully that made a positive budget impact in losing the downtown building. In order to make such a what feels like a very permanent and impactful decision, I think we just have to get creative. If we're willing to get creative with this, what else can we get creative with in looking at other options? Something that has been said in a lot of small groups, Board of Education meetings, and it recently in an accident PTO meeting is that the cost of some of these capital improvement projects seems to be so expensive. And I think the community would benefit from maybe understanding those from a line item and maybe even a bid perspective. I know some of that comes with attending Board of Ed meetings, but it would be helpful for us to understand the cost of, a $1.4 million roof and all of these things. I also, in looking at your presentation tonight, noted that there's no state funding for the paving. And so that's a question that I would have, like where that would come from or why we don't have that. And then, a lot of the financial impacts that have been discussed over the last number of years are related to weighted student funding. And I think one of those potential other options that we could beat it to death is how can we work together as a community, as an administration, as a board of education, as a board of commissioners to have a bigger voice in Annapolis to say, if blueprint and weighted student funding is such a huge impact on the potential of losing community schools or relocating and uprooting, if you will, what can we do at a state level to make sure that the state understands what we're facing as a result of some of this weighted student funding. And I appreciate the opportunity to have coffee with you recently. And one of the things that came up was, and by the way, that's a community event. Anyone can come. It wasn't a special invitation. Was that Blueprint celebrates diversity in so many ways, and our diversity in Garrett County looks different and should be celebrated in its own way. And if that means impacting at a state level, how can we facilitate that, and what guidance would you have?
That was a lot. Uh,
It's my
So,
specialty.
let me try to answer a couple, and I'm sure I'll miss things, and you can query me further or at the end of the meeting. I will get you a summary of the student input. We'll pull that together and get that to you. Make sure a couple staff people that I follow up on that, please. The weighted student funding is of concern to me. For those who don't know, that's a thing through the state of Maryland where funding follows the student. From what we call the foundation funding to compensatory ed funding, every student sort of costs a different amount of money according to the state, and that money is to follow the student. This is our first year doing that, and it is our baseline year. We are working hard to pull that together, and then we need to improve each year. By putting in our staffing guidelines this past year, that was sort of our first step in helping us through that process. What is impacting us more than anything is the loss of student population. When I looked right before I came out, to keep it as simple as I can here tonight, this is just logical. This year, if we plan to graduate 246 seniors, this year in kindergarten, we have 219 students. So if you just look at that year, that's 27 fewer students in kindergarten than we had before. If you look at foundation money, which is about $10,000 per student, then you're up to, do the math quickly, Brenda, $270,000 that we need to find in our budget. So I would offer the blueprint as having an impact, some positive, some negative. But the biggest challenge for our school system really is the loss of student population over the years. When I was here many moons ago, I would budget at each grade level when we would buy textbooks and things. I could pretty much say 425 students, and across the county, that's how many third graders we would have. And I would know then that's what I needed to budget. This year, we have 246 third grade students. So there is an impact as we're trying to figure out how to support our students with current programs and how to increase program offerings at the same time so that they're prepared when they graduate. So hopefully that helps a little bit. We do try to work in Annapolis to make our voice heard. One of our board members is on the legislative committee at the state level through our Maryland Association Boards of Education and is very instrumental in that. And we work very closely with our local delegation, Senator McKay and Delegate Heinbold, to be sure that they're aware of what it is we're supporting and needing some help and change on.
Oh, hello. Regarding Delegate Heinbaugh and Senator McKay, do you all invite them to these meetings? Is that something that outreach happens at a GCPS level, or?
Not
No.
particularly.
Okay.
Not a bad question.
Thanks.
But no, not particularly.
Okay.
But they're very aware of our concerns. Yes. Thank you, Tara. I know it's time, but there were two more people that signed up, so I'm going to do it. if you need to leave, oh, thank you. I'm Christina Mabry, maybe? Okay, thank you very much. And then our final person who I will not be able to read this name at all. Nuri. Ah, you spoke earlier and I didn't speed up a whole lot.
Okay, thank you. Oh. So I wasn't prepared for this speech or anything, but things I heard during the meeting, and it was a lot of good factors that people are prepared and like brought a good statistics and money-wise and all that stuff. So that's really great. I also want to bring it up what kind of county we are. Like Garrett County is, we have a Deep Creek Lake that's very popular touristic place. We have a homes that cost about $5 million in here in the same area. And we definitely have a lot of people coming in as younger couple. And also somebody mentioned somebody moved in here with 4 children to start living here. So it is happening. A lot of people coming here because they like how it is set up and the nature and the lifestyle and all that stuff. So I don't think that's the right thing to do to become smaller and move the one building to another. I think we at the place where we need to expand. Every year we have a good amount of businesses opening up. That means it's going to bring employees. That means it's going to bring new people moving in and new children enrolling it to the schools. So I'm kind of a little bit not sure why is county concerned about the money budgeting for the, I'm guessing that's what it is. It's about money. But the amount county makes out of the tourist people and around the lake itself, this shouldn't be a problem. I know personally that every tourist person who comes to rent a house, and we all know how much those homes rent for, and they each pay 6% that goes to the county, which increased it, let's say 5 years ago. It used to be 3% each tourist pays from total amount they pay for rental to 6%. So I'm not sure where that money goes, and if it is a money concern, I shouldn't. I'm just, I guess, I'm not getting that. Another thing is what I'm seeing a good property where the Accident Elementary is located. It's very good property, and it seems like it's just some kind of business plan of making something else and make more profitable thing and don't keep it for the county. So that seems like not great. But another thing, let me see, I wrote it down. I also had a question about the slideshow that you presented. Some of the points were very weak and not unreasonable, so it was a little weird. And then another thing, when my son was 3 years old, we heard that pre-K 3 opened up, Pre-K 3 program, which is very awesome, and it was a lot of interest, people who brought their children, and also it's 2 classes at Pre-K 3, which how is that going to turn out in the new building, I'm not sure. There are already 2 rooms for Pre-K 3, so that's kind of, I don't think that was, I don't know, nobody pointed that out. So another staffing issue, you were talking on the slideshow how, this is how much money we pay for the staffing and we're going to decrease it, I'm guessing, or you're trying to save up the money, which means, again, somebody already pointed out, it means a lot of people will be not have a job, I'm guessing. That's the only way you will save up money, or you're going to pay much less. That's what they were getting. Another thing I think we all understand is not safe for my 3 years old child to be same place as a 13 years old child, 13 or 10, 11. It can be traumatizing. I mean, 3 years old kid, 4 years old kid, they are very young age and they suck up the things, anything they see around. So being in the same building for 8 hours straight, that's a lot. Let me see. Give me a second. Ta, ta, ta. I think another thing somebody was concerned about the trailers being in place, and you ensured that is no trailers in plans, but then apparently in Bedford there are trailers, so I'm not sure about that. It was a conflicting information. Is either is not going to be a trailers, but yet other places already have a trailers where student goes. So, how can we believe that there are not going to be any trailers in the future? I also was wondering what's going to happen with Miss Pratt's principal of Accident Elementary. I don't know if it's going to be two principals in the middle school, and how is that going to work out logistically if somehow some kind of conflict happens with the elementary student between middle student, how that gonna be handled? I think we as a parent should think about it, you know. And Another thing is, I guess from now on, what do we need to do to stop this relocation? Um, for some for some reason, and this might be wrong, but I got the motion that it's already been decided from the way it was said that it's going to happen no matter what. But I would like to know what we can do to prevent it, because I mean, everybody disagrees with it, so I don't know what needs to happen. Regarding the roofing, I mean, I think we all know roofing can be good for 10 more years. So,
May I respond to just a couple,
Yes.
please? Thank you. Um, and now I'm trying to remember them all, and I won't, but I'll listen again later to go back through it. Tell me what your top question is.
I think the top question is what was said before. It's a safety of our children, of young children being with adult children. I mean, they are already travel in the bus together, and like my son comes home with saying stuff that he heard, and that's not ideal. But them being in the building, I cannot imagine what can else happen. So I can see a lot of trauma.
I can tell you that at Broadford now, which is operating as a pre-K to 6 school, we have not had any problems with students interacting with each other inappropriately between grade levels. We also had the experience here of having Grantsville in this building for a year and a half before I was here, and that worked well. In fact, some of our older students loved going to the primary grade students and helping them with Christmas projects and different projects. I have, again, a lot of faith in our students and our teachers to monitor our students and continue to develop those interactive skills between children. So, and if there are problems, we would address them. When we look at the building, there will be some separation of the grade levels, just as we have done in some of our other buildings, but it will be one school. You asked about a principal. We would expect, more than expect, looking at the number of students that would be in the northern building as it became accident pre-K to 7. There would be a principal in the building, and there would be an assistant principal in the building, just based on the number of students that we would be bringing into the building. So, thank you. And that's the last speaker that's, whoop, off on. That's the last speaker that signed up for tonight. I just want to say thank you for everyone for attending, for giving us more food for thought. And I will be around for a while if anyone wants to talk to me individually. We will also, can we put up the website address so that if you did not have an opportunity to speak tonight or you weren't comfortable speaking tonight, you can give us more input, more views. I will see about putting the short PowerPoint that I used tonight or the slides, see if I can put them on our website some way so that you can access those. The person who manages our website's been off for a couple days, but I'll talk to him and see if we can't make those available. I'll definitely make them available to the principals at both schools, so you can always go to them. That would be Mr. Yoder and Mrs. Frotz. So again, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it.